Good evening and welcome. Good evening and welcome to the British Sim Racers Touring Car Championship. We are here at the 6th meeting of the season. We have gone to Italy in the previous round for Monza. We are back in the UK, but we are at another new country. We are at Scotland and the shortest circuit on the calendar in Knockhill. My name's Dan Blake. Alongside me is Tyler Manning. Tyler, Knockhill provides a unique challenge for these drivers. What are you expecting to see tonight in the BSR TC?
Thank you. I'm expecting a lot of things tonight. It's going to be very exciting to see a bunch of touring cars going around Knockhill. It's the shortest track, as you mentioned, for our lineup, and we've been to Italy, where it's been the fastest these touring cars can get up to speed. So it's going to be very interesting to see how a lot of this is going to be playing out. I'm expecting a little bit of mistakes here and there, but a lot of drama overall.
Yeah, see, last time out, we were at the Autodromo Speed on Monza, and it's going to be a completely different race to what we're going to see this evening. I just say the 4 races, 15 minutes, and we are also now into the second half of our season for the British Sim Racers Touring Cars, and drop scores will start to come into effect in the second half of the season. But in previous rounds, it's SimTech Racing really have sort of taken a march towards the championship, not only in the Drivers' Championship, but also in the Teams Championship. And coming into Knockhill, one of the main questions will be, will anyone be able to stop SimTech Racing, or will they once again take a lot of victories tonight? And then to see, last time out, even last meeting at Monza, we had the year one drivers having a horror show at the end of the first race. They'll be looking to avoid a repeat of that and to get themselves higher up in the championship, which we are going to have a look at, I think, very shortly, to see sort of how the first half of the season's gone and sort of a half-term report almost as such. Paul Cook does lead the championship with 1,697 points. His nearest rival is Martin Shirley on 1,594. So he has got 103 points over Martin Shirley. But interestingly enough as well, of course, Martin Shirley is technically not actually racing Paul Cook. They are in separate classes. Cook is the Pro Championship leader and Martin Shirley the Pro-Am leader. Lee Holmes in third place with 1,388 points. And what is quite unique about Lee Holmes compared to a lot of the drivers in and around that area is Lee Holmes actually has not won a race this season. He's had 4 podiums, but a very consistent night's driving for Lee Holmes in the first half of the season. He's had 5 consistent rounds, and that puts him third in the championship. 4th place in the championship is the first of the year one drivers. That's James Neve. James Neve actually has had 3 wins this season in the British Sim Racing Touring Car, so a multiple winner. Also, his teammate Andy McEwen, he's had 2 wins, but Andy McEwen missed a week of action due to being away with real life commitments. So on drop scores, is a lot closer than what the championship table maybe shows as far as the overall points. And in 6th place, another one of the drivers in the Pro-Am who's been sort of causing some problems for the Pro driver, especially in the reverse grid races. That is Ian Manners. He is on 1,280 points, so just 30 points behind Andy McEwen. In 7th place is another of the SimTech Racing drivers. It's Joe Winter. Joe has missed 2 weeks. He has taken 4 wins out of the races that he has done, though, Joe Winter, and he has 1,117 points, just ahead of our first of the AM drivers in the championship, which is Luke Jones for JW Motorsport in the Audi RS3. He has 1,100 points. Craig McDonald is 9th place with 1,058 points. He currently sits in 3rd place in the Pro-Am Championship. And then we have Chris Warner, who is 10th overall in the championship, and he has a score of, let's have a look. His score is 1,040, so 18 points behind Craig McDonald. They are the top 10 in this British Sim Racers Touring Car Championship. And then 11th place is Craig Shield. 12th is Luke Pullen. 13th, Fiona Siddons. Glenn Humberstone, 14th. Chris Dixon is in 15th. Sisha Fitzpatrick in 16th. Alistair Hatcher, 17th. Wayne Douglas, 18th. Rob Jackson, 19th. And Reese Watt in 20th rounds out the top 20. And the last few little stragglers who have maybe not done so many races as the rest, we have Michael Seal, Andy Slocum, Mark Oliver, Bradley Hulse, and Kip Stevens. So 25 drivers have taken part in the British Sim Racers Touring Car Championship over the course of the season so far. And there is the man who leads the way, Paul Cook, who has 1,697 championship points, 20 starts, 5 wins. So a quarter of the races this season have been won by Paul Cook, and Paul Cook is the winner of the most overall races this season. He's had 11 podiums as well out of his 20 races. No DNFs. That is a big sort of statistic there. That means he's not had any problems which have resulted in a DNF. And in a championship like that, it is extremely important. He has, though, had some strife in the previous round. He had a 21 points deduction for an incident with Fiona Siddons in race 4 at Monza. So Paul Cook, despite losing 21 points, still has an 103-point lead over Martin Shirley at the top of the championship. And that really sort of is a testament to the sort of gap he's built at the front, that despite having that points penalty, Paul Cook still strongly leads the way in the British Sim Racers Touring Car Championship as we go in to the second half of the season. And I think Paul Cook, as I say at the moment, will be one of the big favourites for the championship. And Tyler, sort of out of what we've seen so far in the first half of the season, is there anything that stood out for you in the races that you've watched?
Quite a bit. It's been really dominant for SCTR. It's just fantastic how much they have shown that they can really put a stamp of the letter that they almost have one hand on the Constructors' Trophy. And it's just becoming more and more clear that they're just going to run away even before the other people get a chance.
Yeah, Simtech Racing really have sort of been the class of the field. Year 1 Racing, Team Year 1 are trying to keep up with them and to take the wins. And there has been some success with Team Year 1, of course, this season. They've had 5 wins, 6 wins even. There's been 3 for James Neve, 2 for Andy McEwen, and 1 for Luke Pullin. So they're definitely not sort of giving up. They're still trying to keep the fight alive. But we've got to say, looking from the stats at the first half of the season, Simtech Racing just seem to have that sort of extra gear, and sort of when their 3 drivers, Cook, Winter and Warner, are the top 3 for wins in the championship, it just shows it is going to be an uphill task. But as of course, Team Year 1, we see they've got some very strong drivers. They've got, of course, the reigning champion Andy McEwen in the ranks as well. So Andy McEwen, the driver who, as we say, he is the reigning champion and has taken 2 wins this season as well. James Neve, big improvements from him this season. And also say Luke Pullin, also he's a real life racing driver in the Mazda MX-5 Championship. He's also chipped in with a victory, maybe not as available as the other drivers, but Year 1 do have also 3 good drivers at the top of the championship, and it will be interesting to see sort of what happens to that dynamic. And also, of course, you've got Martin Shirley, a Simtech Racing driver, leading the Pro-Am. He's won 13 out of 20 races this season, and Martin Shirley pretty much, I'd say, already has sort of one hand on that Pro-Am trophy. He's been dominant so far this season.
You're absolutely right, and it's just, you see the amount of experience on the Year 1 team, and it hasn't shown how it has panned out, that it's been a bit of mistakes here and there, that it's just played out massively over the rest of the season so far. So it's just now that luck that they need to have compared to Simtech Racing. So it's just going to be, how can they now find those points that Simtech is just finding?
I think a good phrase to describe sort of Team Year 1 this season is that when they're good, they're really good. And when they've been bad, they have been really bad. Sort of Monza last time out on the final lap of race 1 being one of the real sort of moments of the season, really.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's been many other mistakes there. So we'll just have to see this time around whether or not they can really pull together and see if Simtech have just a bad day, because the rest of the season has to be in their favor.
Yeah, and as we say, we're going into the 6th qualifying session of the season, of course, here at Knockhill. We have had 5 meetings already, and a lot of good racing has been shown throughout the field. And I think tonight is going to be sort of another one of those meetings where we see that the championship very, very close. And of course, Knockhill will have been one of the shortest tracks in sort of on the calendar. It is the shortest track, so you got to think the times will be sort of as close as ever. And I believe very shortly we are going to go down to the track and see what's going on at Knockhill in Fife. and sort of see what's going on, really. As we say, the championship very sort of nicely poised. We see their Knockhill racing circuit in Scotland. As we look at Chris Warner, it's currently just over 5 minutes left to go in the qualifying session, so very close to a conclusion of the session. Warner, in fact, going into the pit lane, also his teammate behind him also is going to be taking a trip down to the pit lane. That is the car currently on pole position of Joe Winter in the number 11 car. So Joe Winter on pole position, taking tyres about 23 seconds. So they're going to go for a final run. And it is a Simtech Racing 1, 2, 3 at the moment. Joe Winter, Chris Warner and Paul Cook in third place, of Andy McEwen in fourth. Rounding out the top five was Lee Holmes, James Neve sixth, and Michael Seal, shall I say, in seventh place. Also Martin Shirley in eighth place. Very uncharacteristically down the timing tower compared to what we've seen in previous rounds from Martin Shirley, but Martin Shirley does still lead that Pro-Am class. You've got Reese Watt in ninth place, who currently has the AM pole position. Ian Manners rounds out the top 10 in the Pro-Am. And in terms of the number of cars in each class, we have 7 cars in the Pro class. They are the top 7 currently in the qualifying session. We have 4 drivers in the Pro-Am class. We've got Fiona Siddons, also got Rob Jackson, Ian Manners in that one as well. And in the AM class, a bit of a resurgence this week. There were quite few in numbers last time out at Monza, but we do actually have a complement of 5 AMs in the AM category for the meeting today at Knockhill, and it just shows those at the top of the times. I thought it'd be a bit closer than it was, to be honest, because sort of Winter and Warner seem to have they've found that little bit of extra something, but the gap between Paul Cook in third and James Neve in sixth is less than a tenth of a second, but particularly sort of those top 2 drivers, Tyler, they seem to have found something that the rest of the field haven't at the moment.
You're correct. I definitely believe that there would have been a smaller of a gap between the top 10, but it's very big of a margin, half a tenth between the top 2 and 3. So you can see how much practice they found something different that the others aren't. And I'm guessing that Winter is just secretly holding it to himself at this point, not giving it out to the rest. But I'm sure later on he'll definitely say, "Oh, you got to do this, you got to do that." You'll definitely see the delta move down towards the end of this race.
Yeah, this qualifying session has just over 3 minutes left as a final run, as the car there, James Neve, the number 7, goes sort of very wide over the grass, and that potentially could be an off-track which will invalidate the lap. And that was, of course, on the section just after they go through the chicane on the Brabham Straight there. That is a particularly point of interest, the chicane, seeing the cars bouncing over the curb. And Knockhill, as I say, it compared to where we were last week at Monza, a complete polar opposite, and it does require a lot of skill at Knockhill, just as much as it does at Monza, but different sort of skills. With Knockhill, it's all about precision and going through the curb, and sort of this section here, we're just about to see Joe Winter fly over. As I see, we're just seeing the proof in the pudding there with Ian Manners off the track, that just the slightest little mistake through the chicane and you can lose sort of tenths and seconds by going out wide. And that is probably going to be one of the trickiest tracks of the night, if not the season. Just making sure that you get the car launched right and onto the right trajectory. And as we saw there, the Ian Manners, getting it wrong can cost a lot of time.
Definitely also looking out for the off-track X, because I've been looking through the rest of the grid and I can see so many people losing their lap times because of going off track or cutting too much. So that is the brilliance of Knockhill, because if you take too much and you don't give back, it will take away anything you throw at it.
Yeah, exactly, Tyler. It's almost trying to teach you that if you're too greedy, it's going to punish you. And you can't say that about all the circuits. Some of the circuits you can afford to have that little bit of a mistake, that sort of little bit of a running wide, but with the nature of the Knockhill circuit being sort of quite narrow, quite compact, the slightest little error here is going to cost you a lot of time. It's not like Silverstone, like we saw earlier in the season, where if you go wide, there's tarmac and you just go a little bit wide and come back on the track. If you go wide at Knockhill, chances are you're going to find a gravel trap or you're going to find a barrier. And I think that's something we may see tonight, maybe a bit more than other tracks, is that drivers having to sort of take that toe to the pits, where they've made a mistake and they've hit a wall or something. Sort of, they've had damage. As we see now, it's just that was an example there. Just pushing a little bit wide can put you sort of into the gravel down at McIntyre. And as we look now with Reece Watt, currently 10th overall and the leader in the AM class of pole position, he does have actually quite a handsome gap at the top of the AMs. He has got to the tune of just under about 2 tenths between himself and the car of Glenn Humberstone. As we see here, another one of Graham Sessford's fantastic graphics. We have got the qualifying. There we go. Sector 1 is a 16.618 for Reece Watt as he goes over the chicane, the fabled chicane at Knockhill. Will go down onto the brakes in towards Clark as a checkered flag flies at Knockhill. So this will be the last lap that the drivers will get to put a time. As soon as they hit that checkered flag, that is it. Session over. Reece Watt, a very short second sector, 8.73 seconds, and that second sector, as I say, very short. And there's a final sector which is sort of a lot longer, and Reece Watt will now be looking to improve on his lap time. He crosses the line now. It's a 51.775. Not an improvement there for Reece Watt, but unless someone in the AM class can pull an absolute cracker out on the final lap, I think that'll be enough to secure him pole position.
And it's a very short track, as you mentioned, so a lot of drivers are going to be bumping into one another. So they'll definitely be falling over laps and trying to get as much space as they can and not trying to ruin other people's lap as well as their own going through this. As you can see, definitely not a lot of improvements late on this qualifying, so the order is set.
Yeah, as you say, the grid is pretty much set now, and I think really, as you say, I'm quite surprised sort of at the differences between the gaps near the front. So the top two really pulled clear the rest of the field. I think the races will be a different matter though. When at the start will be all nicely tightly bunched, and going into the sort of Duffers Dip and McIntyre section, I think we could see some drama there. And I didn't see the MX5 action on Tuesday, Tyler, but sort of what was it like on the first lap, on the first couple of corners? Was it something that we need to be keeping an eye on here?
It's definitely some patience waiting for everybody to get through. So with these TCR, they definitely have to look out for everybody.
Yeah, so here we go. We have Joe Winter on pole position, Chris Warner in second, Andy McEwen with a late improvement which put him in third, with Paul Cook, the championship leader, down in fourth. Michael Seal is fifth with Holmes in sixth place. James Nevers in seventh, Martin Shirley eighth. Rounding out the top 10 is Ian Manners and Reece Watt. In 11th place is Glenn Humberstone. Got Luke Jones 12th, Mark Oliver 13th, Chris Dixon 14th, Rob Jackson in 15th place. And also we have Fiona Siddons, who was unable to qualify due to the penalty, so she will be at the back of the grid for this one as well. But cars on the grid, getting ready for the 21st race of the championship. We've had 20 so far, and I think the rounds 21, 22, 23 and 24 will provide some excellent entertainment at Knockhill, and we are got about 30 seconds maximum until we get the race underway. In fact, it's going to be any second now, because for the 21st time this season in the BSRTC, the lights go on. Out they go, we're underway, and it's a good start from the first couple of rows. I think Paul Cook potentially had a bit of a better start than Andy McEwen there off the line. He just seemed to have a little bit of momentum, but as the cars drop down in towards Duffers Dip for the first time, it is as we were at the start. So you've got Joe Winter leading the way, and there's an overtake there. James Neve on Martin Shirley, I believe, further down the order. Oh, in fact, that's Paul Cook dropping down a position. But we see at the moment, as it was, Joe Winter and Chris Warner leading the way. Andy McEwen in third. James Neve up into fourth place, displacing Paul Cook in fifth place. And as the cars go down the railway straight towards Taylor's for the first time, a very serene first lap, Tyler, although we could see Paul Cook trying to make a move down the inside. Sticks a nose down there. No can do, but a very gentle first lap.
Yeah, gentle would be a bit of an understatement. A lot of people shoveling around, trying to find their way through and trying to get ahead of their opponents. A lot of patience at the front and really chill with Winter leading ahead of Warner. So the pro drivers at STR is definitely doing their best to drive away from McEwen as he's in third still, ahead of the rest of the field, and they will try and pull that gap they had in qualifying and continue the run for the rest of the evening. So do not count out this race being a dominance from SimTech Racing.
Yeah, one are in the thick of the fight though. Third, fourth, and fifth at the moment. I think there's been a drama for Ian Manners on the second lap as well. He dropped down the timing screen like a stone. And as you see there, 16th place, currently last of the runners. Can't see any visible damage on that car, although maybe a little bit on the... No, can't see sort of any signs of damage, but I think Ian Manners has had a bit of an excursion. But at the front, as you see a replay of it, in fact, now. So it was... go through Devil's Dip. Yeah, maybe a little bit of a nudge on the back of the Audi in front of him, which has seen him go across the gravel. I'm not sure if there was contact or not. We'll have a look. Yeah, I think there was contact. Yeah. So a bit of contact there has sent Ian Manners down. Very minor contact, but it has caused quite a delay for Ian Manners, although there's Chris Dixon and a smoke. Yeah, Chris Dixon and Mark Oliver have lost time while we're looking at the replay. In fact, Chris Dixon, a lot of damage there to the front of that Hyundai Veloster for Johan Racer. Mark Oliver in the pits. I wonder if the two incidents are related, because both drivers were fighting in a similar area of the track, but not what you want to be seeing in the first few laps of the race. We'll have a look. So, it's Oliver into Chris Dixon. That is a big impact there. Oh, wheels going flying, and he said the track was narrow, and don't like to see that, but that is two cars in the pits with significant damage.
Yeah, they definitely came really close together, and that is the results of close racing right there. And it's just very unfortunate for two drivers to have an instance like that and to not have any race left.
And at the front, Joe Winter and Chris Warner, we said about will they try and do what they did in qualifying, and that is very much what's on the agenda at the moment. They are putting clear of Andy McEwen, Michael Seal and James Neate. The 3-year 1 cars, though, driving incredibly well in this one. Martin Shirley is not able to keep up with them, the Pro-Am Championship leader in 6th place. We see Andy McEwen, the double race winner in the British Sim Racers touring cars this season, trying his utmost to keep up with those SimTech Racing boys, and he's not a million miles away. It's a mistake from one of those two in front could cause Andy McEwen to gain more time, but as we've seen in previous races, at the moment the SimTech boys are just working sort of 1 and 2. They're not fighting each other, and there's sort of no team orders. I think if there is going to be any battle in between them, it will be sort of on the last couple of laps. Their main priority at the moment is to try and get away from these Team Year 1 drivers. But as I say, Team Year 1, 3rd, 4th and 5th at the moment, so they are doing extremely well. One driver, though, who I know is struggling a bit potentially in this race, Paul Cook, Championship leader, he is down in 8th place. He is actually fighting with Lee Holmes at the moment, as Joe Winter puts in the fastest lap of 50.890. But Paul Cook, maybe Knockhill, not his favourite circuit. He is putting pressure, though, on Lee Holmes for what would be 7th place. But not really expect a championship leader to be tied at this stage, I would say, in 8th place.
Yeah, starting 4th tonight for qualifying, definitely being back here. He had quite a bit of a tussle during that first few laps, trying to shuffle around, trying to stay ahead, but unfortunately that has not happened. And Knockhill is a short track, and not a lot of places to overtake, especially with these touring cars. So the only chance you have of overtaking is into the final corner, and maybe possibly the first one. As you race here, a lot of momentum slowing down into the last corner, but a nice long straight for Paul Cook to get an opportunity ahead of Lee Holmes, who's right in front of him.
Lee Holmes not quite close enough to make attack, as we see Chris Warner get a new fastest lap there, 50.683, but a slight mistake there from Lee Holmes as they went through Duffer's Dip, and the amount of curve these touring cars are taking is quite phenomenal. And British touring cars, of course, visited Knockhill in real life last weekend, and you see them two-wheeling over the chicane, sort of launching the car through the air, and Knockhill, very spectacular for touring car racing, but Paul Cook, as I say, not being able at the moment to sort of make the impression on Lee Holmes that maybe he'd be hoping to make, because sort of down in 8th place, although very late on the brakes there, is Paul Cook going into Taylor's hairpin. Still, I don't think he's quite close enough to make the move. I think the only real chance he'd have of making a move down into Duffer's Dip is if the car ahead of Holmes was to make a mistake coming out the last corner and lose that momentum, because just sort of with the ebb and flow of the track as it is, if Holmes makes a good exit out of that final hairpin, Cook isn't going to be close enough to get through him. As we see there, a little bit, sort of, a little couple of mistakes coming in there from Holmes, the odd wheel on the gravel here and there, and I think Lee Holmes is feeling the pressure at the moment.
He's definitely a lot closer now. As you can see how close he's getting to the back of that 88 Tech car. It is definitely a lot closer. So if he can stay close now and get into turn 1, he looked for an opportunity here in the last corner. So if he can stay as close as he is right now for the first turn, he will get that opportunity right now for a chance of overtaking first 7.
It's going to have to be quite a late move. He's making sort of his intentions early. Then he ducks back in behind Lee Holmes. There's Paul Cook. As I say, our championship leader, he's had sort of 5 wins out of the 20 races so far. He has won a quarter of the races. So, as I said before, Paul Cook, it's not characteristic for him to be this far down, but pressure on that is spectacular. I'll always say that. The car just flies over those curbs. And if anything, I think that Lee Holmes and Paul Cook maybe putting some pressure on Martin Shirley had to do that. They're getting a bit closer, and we're watching on board for a few laps of Paul Cook, and it's interesting to see sort of just the way the car flies through those chicanes. The touring car, let's see the wheel on the grass of Paul Cook, and it's lost him a bit of momentum, but touring car is maybe one of the few cars on iRacing that you're able to attack the curbs like that.
No, you're right. A lot of other cars on the surface definitely can handle these curbs as well as the touring cars. And we saw in the Mazdas, they're not as great either, but they can fly and they'll handle it as much as they can, but the suspension of a touring car is superior in my view.
And that's what sort of makes a big difference as well, just how well you take those chicanes. You can gain 2-3 tenths just by hitting those chicanes right, but I think people need more than 2 or 3 tenths to catch these two. There's nearly 5 seconds between Chris Warner in second and Andy McEwen in third. But Andy McEwen, under increasing pressure from Michael Seal in the inter-team battle for 3rd and 4th place, with James Neve rounding out the top 5 there, as we see Winter and Warner. They're having a very quiet race. They're not really having not much TV time, but that's because they're just going about their business. There's a good battle there, I think, shaping up here between McEwen and Seal, as we've got just about over 6 minutes left to go, as we see the Simtech car there of Rob Jackson, who is in 13th place. The car behind him is Glenn Humberstone in the AM, and we do actually, sadly, only have 14 cars still running, and there's the commentator as he goes straight across the grass. Is he going to be able to stop it in time?
Oh,
contact with the barrier.
I was super worried. Oh, super worried about that inch when he returning. Oh my goodness.
That could have been quite a hair-raiser moment for Glenn Humberstone if he wasn't aware, but that just shows how quickly something could go wrong at Knockhill. It was just a little bit of instability of the car, got a little bit unstable, and that sent it flying off the circuit. As you say, there isn't much runoff here, but luckily the barrier wasn't as close as it could be, or that could have been a much bigger accident. He did clout the barrier with that front left, but I don't think there was too much damage done, as Ian Manners up into 12th place in the Samsung Dungeon car. We saw him on the first lap. Ian in difficulties and dropped down to last place, but with the demise of a couple of the other drivers and some errors along the way, it has got him up into 12th place, which is 3rd in the Pro-Am class, and the car in front of him, Fiona Siddons, is 2nd in Pro-Am, and that's actually a battle for position in class, as we see Reece Watt for JW Motorsport in the Audi RS3. He leads the AM class by quite a handsome margin of 8 seconds over his teammate Luke Jones, and we have seen in the AM class this season that where Simtech have been the class of the pro field, the Audis of the JW Motorsport really have produced some good results in the AM class.
Yeah, I love that little Audi. It looks so cute just driving around, and it's definitely in its element where it is front-wheel drive, and compared to the other cars where are all rear-wheel drive, you can definitely see how well it can be served around a track like this, where it's all about the acceleration out of the corners, and that Audi just has it. And look how much they're taking over the curbs in AM class.
Some big damage there on the back of the car of Luke Jones. I see that bumper a bit misshaped on the rear there, so it looks like he's had a bit of contact, and we did see actually that was one of the cars earlier, was it? I don't think it was Ian Manners. There was a car earlier on that we saw go into the back of it, one of the Audis. I think that was the car that was the victim in that incident. As we see, Lee Holmes has been overtaken by Paul Cook. So while we are looking at other things, that is a change that's happened for 7th place. Lee Holmes, though, will not let that lie. He will try and get that place back. And so Lee Holmes is in 3rd place in the Drivers' Championship. Not taking as much curb there, the 88 Tech driver. I noticed there, it didn't look like he too keen on taking that curb like the rest of the drivers did. It was almost like he was staying on purpose away and going and launching that curb there, Tyler.
It's the amount of risk they're going to be willing to take. And you can definitely see how the SimTech drivers are taking as much curb as they want. And that is resulting in great lap time. But you can see how it could result in a punishing manner, as you saw before with one of the drivers. So it's just that balance of risk and reward that they need to take. And as you can see, it's really pulling off for Cook, who has overtaken Lee Holmes.
And setup, of course, something which can make a difference as well in how the cars handle the curbs. 88 Tech may have their cars sort of set up differently to how SimTech Racing ones. There may be suspension settings or sort of other adjustments with the car, which mean that SimTech Racing car is allowed to be more aggressive over the curbs. And that's the great thing about the British Sim Racers touring cars. It is open setup, so it is sort of a matter where teams can have variably different setups, and maybe in SimTech Racing's case, they feel they can be sort of a bit more aggressive over the curbs, whilst the 88 Tech setup means they have to be maybe a sort of a little bit more casual over the curbs and just a bit more sort of in a relaxing manner, and not to sort of pressure the suspension as much.
The relaxing manner of a setup. Oh, that is definitely a bit wide for Lee Holmes, as you saw on the entry, so he'll lose time just a bit, but he's definitely caught back up, but it will result in a bit of a slower lap time overall. So you commenting that it's a bit of a casual setup, nice and relaxing. I don't really expect a lot of these drivers I'm seeing are really aggressive on the curb, so I think they'll be really looking towards changing that setup to be right of being comfortable with the curbs. No, you're right. I'm wrong. I don't know where I was going with that point.
As we see there, that battle is hotting up for 3rd place quite considerably. Michael Seal putting Andy McEwen under pressure. A couple of wheels just touching the gravel there. Not enough, I don't think, to cost him time, but the gap is just around that half a second mark. And McEwen and Seal had contact last week at Monza, of course, so they'll be looking to avoid a repeat of that. James Neve has dropped off the back, but Michael Seal, the way the body language of that car is running, is that he wants that final space on the podium, and Andy McEwen is going to have his work cut out. Disappears there. Slight connection difficulty there for Andy McEwen. It slowed his momentum out of the final corner there, so they could be closer than Michael Seal, getting closer and closer. There we go. That's what we want to see. The 2 Year 1 cars fighting it out, hammer and tong. Andy McEwen will just about keep the 3rd place at the moment. We are on the final lap of the race, so if Michael Seal is going to make a move, he will have to do it pretty shortly. And behind as well, we have got the battle between Cook, Shirley and Holmes. So some good battles throughout the pack. And we've got to wonder as well, is will SimTech let Paul Cook go past Martin Shirley? But no team orders at the front of the field. As for the final time, Joe Winter brakes heavily into Taylor's. A perfect exit. And for these two drivers at the front of the field for SimTech, it has been pretty much a perfect race, because Joe Winter crosses the line, takes his 5th victory of the season. Chris Warner in 2nd place, formation flying for SimTech Racing. It is a 1-2. Andy McEwen will hold on in 3rd place with Michael Seal in 4th. There has been a change between those drivers, as I say, for SimTech Racing. Paul Cook going ahead of Martin Shirley, so Paul Cook takes 6th. Martin Shirley 7th. It is still the Pro-Am winner. And crossing the line in 9th place, taking the AM win, is Reese Watt. A great drive from the JW Motorsport driver. And that is Reese Watt's 8th win in the AM category this season. Ian Manners will take 2nd in Pro-Am. We saw him having some difficulty early on, but has swapped back. And that is a very slow Audi crossing the line of Luke Jones. We did see one of the Audis run out of fuel last week. I don't think that's the... maybe not the same issue, but we'll never know. Fiona Siddons finishing in 13th. Rob Jackson in 14th. So a Pro-Am podium, shall I say, there for Fiona, 13th overall. And as we see with the two cars there who were not classified, they are Mark Oliver and Chris Dixon. Early on, we lost them from the race. But at the front, Simtech Racing taking victory. It is Joe Winter, his 5th win of the season in 2022, Season 3 of the British Sim Racers Touring Cars. And at the front, really, sort of they pulled away from the field. It was a very boring race, I think, probably for those two in front. It didn't look like they were battling, but once again, they have taken victory by quite a margin there.
Yeah, they've been relaxing for this first race, but the fortunate thing about BSR is that we have the reverse grid, so the Wheel of Fortune may not be in their favor, so they're hoping for a low number for race 2.
I think the rest of the field will be hoping for quite a high number, because Knockhill is definitely not one of the easier tracks to overtake on, as we saw in that race. There wasn't really many overtaking opportunities, so if it is one of the higher numbers on Graham's Tesla's reverse grid draw, I think the Simtech Racing drivers will know they've got a task on their hands, and it's not going to be as easy as somewhere like Monza or a Silverstone or a Brands Hatch even to gain those places back, because Knockhill very tight, very narrow, and overtaking, really, we saw in that first race at a premium, not many moves made. It was more mistakes that were sort of causing the overtakes rather than drivers making the moves, although we did see a couple moves down into the hairpin on the early laps. But I think that's another thing that sort of stood out for me there, is sort of there wasn't really that much in the case of overtaking. It seemed like drivers were struggling. We saw that Paul Cook eventually did get past Lee Holmes, but that took him many laps to sort of get that move up and running.
You're really right on that. It's a premium to overtake around here, so they're gonna have to be some changes around for the reverse grid. And if it's a high number and we have those AM drivers at the front, we're gonna be seeing a little more action than we saw on first race. And as we can see, the reverse wheel appears. There
we go then. So we do have the spinning wheel of fortune. Where will it land in this race? Oh, it's not going to go on full, is it? Just missed a full, but it essentially is not going to be far off if it gets onto 6. Oh! Simtech Racing drivers are going to be delighted with that. That is 6. So there we go. That is a 6th place, which will have the pole position for race number 2. And the driver who finished in 6th place was Paul Cook. So the last lap move he actually made on Martin Shirley puts him on pole position. So what we have is our championship leader on pole position, James Neve alongside him, and then a second row of Michael Seal and Andy McEwen, and then the third row of Chris Warner and Joe Winter. So once again, Simtech Racing luck in, this time on the reverse grid draw.
I think they may have something going on. They may be hacking the Wheel of Fortune if this is how it's going to be playing out tonight. Well, let's hope not. So let's get the big grid. I want a full one.
That'll be, I'd love to see sort of big reverse. Of course, we've got another 2 to come after this, but this is the podium for round 21 of the championship. Joe Winter on the top step with Chris Warner second and Andy McEwen in third place of Team Year 1. So Team Year 1 on the podium. As we see the full rundown of the results, it was Joe Winter and Chris Warner together, and then 8 seconds behind, Andy McEwen in third. He had to put some pressure, but Michael Seal towards the end of the race in 4th, and James Neve took 5th place for Team Year 1. So a strong finish there, 3rd, 4th and 5th. Paul Cook was in 6th place with Martin Shirley in 7th place. You could almost say there that it's like it's a Year 1 filling in the Simtech Racing sandwich there. Lee Holmes in 8th place, a very good filling indeed. 9th place is Reece Watt and Ian Manners rounding out the top 10. Reece Watt, of course, being the AM winner, and Martin Shirley in 7th taking the Pro-Am win. Just outside the top 10, drivers who were hoping for that big reverse grid. Luke Jones in 11th, Glenn Humberstone finishing in 12th, Fiona Siddons with a Pro-Am podium in 13th, Rob Jackson 14th, and our 2 non-finishers were Chris Dixon and Mark Oliver. So there we go, the reverse grid draw, as we say, it has full of potential, those top 6. Any one of those top 6 drivers could win this race. And as I say, overtaking being as tight as it is, I'm going to be intrigued to see what happens, because sort of the 2 drivers that sort of dominated, I could say, the first race, of Winter and Warner, they're going to have to try and get through those 3 Team Year 1 cars. And I don't think that's going to be easy. It's probably easier said than done on that one.
I definitely expect a lot of battling between the 2 teams as Paul Cook runs away and say, thank you very much. So I'm definitely expecting that to happen. But everything happens in BSR, so let's see.
Yeah, so as we say, we'll see what happens in the second race of the evening. You have been watching, that is round 21 out and done. And this is Year 1 TV. We'll see you back after this break. Yeah, I'm ready to go. Good evening, welcome back to Year 1 TV. We are at Knockhill for the 6th meeting of the British Sim Racers Touring Car Championship season. We have a reverse grid of 6 for the second race, and that puts our championship leader, Paul Cook, on to pole position. We've seen some great racing in the British Sim Racers Touring Cars this season. I think shortly we are going to see some stats of some of the front runners that we have seen this season in the championship, and sort of how they've managed to get to those lofty positions that they currently hold in the championship. As I say, we are now into the second half of the season, so this is when the points really start to stack up. They really start to matter, and with drop scores, as I say, to come into consideration as well. Our drivers can drop their worst 2 results from the season, so the worst 2 weeks they have, they're able to drop, and that's also sort of advantageous for if you can't make a race meeting. It means that you still have a chance at the championship. But what that does mean, though, is the disadvantage is if you do have to miss a week, it means that you have to make the weeks of their count.
No, you're absolutely right. So it's going to be a bit of how you're going to be playing out through the rest of the races where you're not there. And if you are there and you have a bad result, it's the other races that you have to perform at, and just see how things will be going through all these last few races, because there's not many left, and the points are up for grabs for everyone.
Exactly, and sort of as you say, sort of those points are what matter as we go towards the end of the season. We've got looks like we may have a slight delay in the second race. As I say, that gives us perfect time really to discuss things that have happened in the championship so far, and especially sort of across the classes, sort of pro class. It's been intriguing this season because despite the fact that sort of the Simtech racing drivers have been at the front of the championship, there have been 7 different drivers who've won races this season. But another thing to sort of note is the only 2 teams who've won races this season are Simtech Racing and Team Year 1. No 88 Tech driver and no driver from any of the other teams in the championship have been able to take an overall win. But when you go into the AM class, you have the Samsung Dungeon Car, or Pro-Am shall I say, the Samsung Dungeon car of Ian Manners has taken 2 victories in the Pro-Am. And in the AM category, we've seen JW Motorsport really be the class of that field. They've taken now 14 wins in the AM category. 88 Tech have taken 4, and as I say, it just really sort of shows the strength in the championship, that even though sort of the Pro Championship there are 2 teams which sort of are above and beyond the rest. It's almost like Formula 1 really, where you've got your 2 you've got your big teams at the front who, unless they hit disaster, are going to win the races. But it's competitive all through the midfield and sort of through the Pro-Am and AM classes, and that's what's so great about the British Sim Racers Touring Car Championship, is it's just so unpredictable throughout the field.
No, you're absolutely right, and we have some very good information about how these drivers have been doing so far. As you can see right here, we have Joe Winters.
Yeah, Joe Winter, currently as we say, in the championship session, will be going shortly to the track, I believe. But we've got Joe Winter, who is currently in 7th in the championship. He has missed a couple of weeks, due to his work commitments, and he is due to miss another week later in the season. I think if it was just the 2 weeks he was missing, he would have a chance at the championship. I think he's got the quality to still be in contention, but I think that 3rd week missing is the one that's sort of really going to drop him down. Of course, with the 4 races in an evening, that is a big chunk of points, but he's had 11 podiums in the 13 races he's done. That is extraordinary, and the lowest finish he's had all season is a 5th place, and we've had around 15 plus cars for sort of each round so far. So for his worst finish to be 5th just shows how consistent he's been, and the fact that he's only missed a podium twice in the times he's raced this season.
Oh, that's consistency that you see for a champion like him, and it's just going to be how he deals with the rest of the final few races we have left, We only have like 4 more after this round, so it's going to be how he performs consistently, and it's shown that he can be on the podium every race from now on. So I expect a lot more from him in the final few races so far.
Exactly. Despite the fact he's got to miss another week, I still think he'll be able to secure sort of at least a sort of top 5 position in the championship, sort of purely based on the results that he's had in the rounds where he's going to be able to appear. As we see another driver who is in real contention for the championship, which is a team year one, the leader of the 3 year one drivers, Andy McEwen. He's had 2 wins this season. He's had 8 podiums in 17 starts. Monza will possibly go down if Andy doesn't have to miss another meeting. I say Monza, potentially a meeting where he may drop, because the 15th and the 14th, we spoke to him last week. He emitted not the best of evenings the first half of the evening, but a very strong fight back, taking 2 podiums in the final 2 races. And that's sort of the beauty of the drop scores, is that come the end of the season, those 15th or 14th, they could be completely eradicated from his score, and it'd be as if it never happened.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And he is the reigning champion, so he has the experience for a championship run. So he definitely knows what he needs to do in order to be on top once more. So I definitely expect him to do very well for this evening, to get back right up in the points for top 10 and top 3. It's going to be one where, will he be able to do it again?
And of course, you say the reigning champion last season, and that played into factor last week at Monza. The experience and sort of the racecraft of Andy knew that despite the fact he had a damaged car, if he could bring that car home, he will still get points. And even the 15th and 14th place points, should Andy have to miss another round due to his real life commitments. Of course, now Andy, one of the leading commentators in the UK and the world, so he does sort of have other commitments, may not be able to attend all the rounds, but if he does have to miss another round, the fact that he brought the car home for those 2 races means that he has 15th and 14th points rather than 2 DNFs as well.
Absolutely. So it's going to be how he plays the rest of the races so far. So I'll definitely keep an eye out on him for the rest of the season and see how it plays out for him.
And a comment there from our producer Graham. The weather is very Scottish, and Tyler said earlier as well, very cloudy. It's gonna be another test for the drivers as well. Maybe even a spot of that Scottish fog. And of course, Knockhill, as the name suggests, sort of a lot of hills. And saw a photo at the touring car meeting last year, which showed, not last year, last weekend, shall I say, where the clouds were extremely low. They were going below the hill. They were very close to the surface, and that is just sort of one of the characteristics of the Knockhill circuit, that weather is something which can be variable. As some say, Knockhill has its own microclimate sometimes, where the weather is sort of, it can be completely different 2 miles away, but Knockhill having its own sort of microclimate. And I just got in and can see what you mean. That is intense fog. We had the fog lights even on the cars running at the moment as well. So it's, despite the fact that sort of in some time, we are 10 to 8 in the morning, it's a very early morning fog as we see the drivers acclimatizing. And of course, that's something that the drivers may not have practiced in, of course, is sort of racing in that sort of weather. So they're using the last 4 minutes of the pre-race practice session to acclimatize to sort of the weather and the visibility even.
Well, back in with the Mazdas, they had the drivers that are currently here tonight had an opportunity for the similar weather as we had these similar conditions that we have for the touring cars, where it's very foggy and a little hard to see ahead of the road. So you'll definitely be looking out, being a little more cautious if you're a bit of a nervous driver in these sort of weather conditions. And those that we will have the best opportunity will finish well.
And as you see here, another one of Graham's fantastic new graphics he's done. And of course, we need to thank Graham Sessford for the hard work he puts into the production and bringing this, as I say, these fantastic graphics. We have the drivers of the week. In the pro class, of course, it was the overall podium. So we have Joe Winter with 104 points, Chris Warner with 92 points, and Andy McEwen, who took 85 points out of that first race here at Knockhill in the pro class. And I believe as well we'll be able to go through the other two classes as well. To see here the Pro-Am class, there is Martin Shirley. He took 74 points. He was the leading Pro-Am driver. Ian Manners took 68 points. He was second in Pro-Am. And Fiona Siddons took a podium as well. She has 52 points from that first race of the evening. And in AM, Reece Watt took 70 points. He was the winner. Luke Jones took 66 points, finishing second. JW Motorsport the 1-2. And 88 Tex Lee Humberstone was in third with 64 points. But of course, these are provisional results. With one of the other beauties of the BSRTC is we have sort of the stewarding and the post-race judicials. And as we saw earlier tonight, Fiona Siddons and Rob Jackson were unable to qualify during the session because of a rack-up of licence points. And in terms of exclusions last week, we did have Fiona Siddons excluded from race 3. So where the stewards are there to ensure that driving standards are kept as good as possible. And if people do display poor driving standards, then they will be absolutely punished.
Yeah, so with all those points racking up and these penalties coming in, those are going to definitely play into the hands of other of your competitors. So if you're getting all these incident points into these long races that we have here at BSR, so it's going to be very difficult for you to climb back and get as much points as you can. So we're definitely going to see how that plays out at the end of the season, whether or not those points that they missed out really counted.
Oh, exactly. And sort of Paul Cook, our championship leader, we saw him have penalty points out as well. He lost 21 points. And although it could have been sort of a bigger penalty, 21 points, any driver would say that you'd rather have those points than lose them. And 21 points may not make a big difference at the end of the season, but if he racks up more penalties, obviously those penalty points will keep rising. And as well as penalty points, he'll also be adding license points as well. And also sort of other punishments other than exclusion and exclusion from qualifying is, of course, pit starts. And if you have, I think we saw earlier in the season, we had Wayne Douglas have a exclusion from qualifying and a pit start in races 2 and 3. And they can really ruin your night if there's some ill discipline in the previous rounds. As we see, the chopper shot, I think that chopper should come out of the air pretty soon. It's not the best conditions for flying, Tyler.
It's absolutely a disaster. I've seen so many drivers currently right now that have gone off the track because of these conditions. It is so difficult for these people to just find a way around here that you can't even see like the proper curves of that hill over in the background.
I think we're going to see a good race, and very shortly we will see the grid. Look at that. You can't see a thing on the grid. It's Paul Cook, the championship leader, on pole position with James Neve alongside him. The second row is Team Year 1 affair. It's Michael Seal and Andy McEwen. Fifth is Chris Warner with Joe Winter in 6th. Martin Shirley 7th. Lee Holmes in 8th place. And Reece Watt in 9th. Ian Manners running out the top 10. On the 6th row are Luke Jones and Glenn Humberstone. Fiona Siddons is 13th. We also have Rob Jackson and Chris Dixon, who will be 14th and 15th respectively. And the 22nd round of the British Sim Racers Touring Car Championship will be getting underway very shortly. We will see those red lights on the screen, and that will mean that we are into the start procedure. There we go. So we do see the lights for the 22nd time this season in the BSRTC. The lights are on. They're out and we're underway, and it is a fantastic start from pole position for Paul Cook. James Neve not with the best of starts, and Michael Seal is going to pull alongside his teammate as they drop down. Duffer's tip for the first time. He's going to lose out to Seal. And McEwen's going to go across the grass. Is he going to hit Paul Cook? I didn't hear any metal, but that is a lot of braking, and what that has meant is that Paul Cook has pulled out a massive lead of over 2.5 seconds. Only going round Yep, there it is, crashing at the chicane for the first time. That's one of those JW Motorsport Audis, Luke James. So our AM Championship leader in strife as well, going up to the chicane. And I wonder if it's sort of a lack of visibility. He's already catching people out, Tyler.
No, that's absolutely right. You definitely can't see far enough to be seen, and definitely all those black cars will blend in more nicely, and we'll definitely have those rear headlights in the back to give drivers some visibility, but you cannot see far enough for those incidents to happen. And going up a crest like that, that's so blinding, it is hard to see if somebody is spin or not.
Andy McEwen putting a lot of pressure there on Martin Shirley. Andy McEwen, a big loser from that first lap, and it all sort of stemmed from the start that James Neave had. As we see Andy McEwen now across the gravel, needs to get his head back into the game. That's a car going past him. Reese Watt in the JW Motorsport Audi, though. Reese Watt is going to go wide, and that's going to allow Andy McEwen to pull alongside out of Clark down the railway straight. But as I said, it was a start from James Neave, which sort of caught his teammates out a little bit, and they hadn't got themselves into order by the time they got down Duffers Dip. It was a mistake from Andy McEwen, and Andy was actually very lucky, didn't go across the track and hit Paul Cook as he came back across the track. We saw that happen at Snetterton with one of the Year 1 drivers. I think it was James Neave, who went across the grass at Brundle and Nelson. But as we see now, side by side, it's the Audi and the Hyundai, and the Hyundai has it. Andy McEwen will take the position from Reese Watt up into 7th place, and Andy McEwen getting that place back. Now, Andy McEwen, get your head down and get on with it. The car in front of you is Martin Shirley. Points mean prizes, and Andy McEwen needs as many points as possible. But Paul Cook, the gap is actually down to 1.4 seconds. So I think there's been a mistake made by the race leader along the way. We saw it was a much bigger margin than this a lap ago. Michael Seal will see that Simtic Racing car in front of him and will be looking to put pressure on him. James Neave in 3rd position. So despite not having the best of starts, he is still in the podium positions for Team Year 1. But he has Chris Warner and Joe Winter, the cars who finished 1st and 2nd in the first race, in close attentions, and that is going to be a good battle to keep our eyes on, I think, in the coming laps.
I'm just trying to look out of the window here at the commentary box, and I can't really see very well on these headlights. It's just so small that if you go over and you're spinning around, the next person that comes over in a few moments will definitely not see you clearly enough, as these cars just blend in with the colors. That is very gray around here, and I'm definitely seeing a lot of drivers are having a hard time finding their braking points and the line through Knockhill, and it's just how much they can deal with this weather as they're facing off one another, the conditions and the drivers.
As you say, that weather is proving a much bigger factor than maybe we first thought, as we saw Lee Holmes there going down into Taylor's, making a position on Reese Watt up into 9th place. Also side by side behind between Ian Manners and Rob Jackson. Ian Manners there I saw going down Duffers Dip, taking that inside across the grass. He's managed to just hold on to the position with Rob Jackson in 11th place. And as you see there, the car's just going a little bit wider, and visibility, especially going through that chicane, it is blind on the second part of that chicane. So after launching over the first section, two wheels, those two drivers there, Jackson and Manners, both making the same mistake, but Manners may be losing a bit more time. He's going to be overtaken by the Simtek Racing car of Rob Jackson. This is a battle within the Pro-Am class. Manners fights down the inside, and at the front, Michael Seal has actually done the fastest lap of the race, 51.261, and has taken another half a second out of Paul Cook since we last saw what was going on there. So Michael Seal, as I say, on the attack, but this battle for what is 2nd place in Pro-Am, very hot indeed between Ian Manners and Rob Jackson. But Ian Manners now looking like he's pulled a couple of car lengths on. Ooh, that was a car taking a lot more curb than they wanted to. That is the car of Lee Holmes. So Lee Holmes from the Pro class dropping down into 9th place, and he was very lucky not to hit the barrier there, because it looked like he extended that chicane quite a lot there, Tyler.
You can definitely see how it looks from the nose cam, as it is so hard to see that chicane from a few corners before, as they're looking from there and you see, too much curbs. Wrong approach over that, and that cost him so much.
That's a very hard landing, as I say, as we look on board with Lee Holmes, and it's Reece Watt ahead of him in the 911 Audi RS3 for JW Motorsport. So went a little bit wide there, and Lee Holmes had to back out of it ever so slightly, but it's just that's the way the car hit. In fact, I think we're actually looking at live pictures now, so I thought it was on a replay. My apologies. So about live, and Lee Holmes putting pressure on that JW Motorsport car of Reece Watt. He'll be looking to gain back the position that he lost. At the front there, Michael Seal is taking tenths out of Paul Cook. It is now down to half a second, and Michael Seal seems to be the driver at the front, which is making the most of the conditions. And in the fog, Michael Seal will be looking to get that victory seal in this one.
He's really performing here in the weather. He's definitely showing that he's just moving more closely to Paul Cook than what is happening right here. It is just what looks like he's just performing absolutely brilliantly compared to race 1. So it is just how you deal with this right now. So he is getting really close. Now he had an opportunity to look around, and he goes wide so he can have the corner exit speed to Paul Cook, and he's going to try and seal this up with a kiss like he does right here, hopefully, but it looks like it's too far away for an opportunity in turn 1.
If he makes a move down the inside, can we say it's signed, sealed, delivered? As we see down the move down into McIntyre going up towards Butchers in the chicane. Michael Seal looking ever closer to the back bumper there. Paul Cook, these two Hyundai Lancers have pulled away to the tune of nearly 3 seconds to Chris Warner behind. It is purely a battle between second year one. I don't think you can get much closer to the rear end of the car there than Michael Seal did there, as we see very close racing. It's only going to be a matter of time, surely, before he shows a nose going into Taylor's. We saw in the last lap, he's going to do the same again. He's going to take the wider line to try and get the momentum and the exit on the corner, but not quite able to do it at the moment. Chris Warner 2 seconds behind, and if Paul Cook backs Michael Seal up, Chris Warner could become a bit more involved in the race. But I think, as I say, at this moment, as I said right from the start of the race, Michael Seal just seems to have the outright pace in this one at the moment over Paul Cook. We saw Paul Cook not have the strongest of races in race 1. He finished in 6th place, which gave him the reverse grid draw. But I think it's showing, particularly in this race, that it's maybe one of Paul Cook's weaker circuits. Michael Seal again gets ever closer, takes a bit of curb and gravel there. But Michael Seal using all the track and then some in his pursuit of Paul Cook.
He's trying to steal a cookie away from the Cookie Monster, as you see on the back of Paul Cook's car. So that is definitely a lot closer than in the last time. So he's definitely going to look for an opportunity up on the inside for turn 1. If it not, this is a horrible chance not to do it. This is going to be, oh, so close. But Paul Cook is far enough ahead to not give the opportunity away to Michael Seal. And he is still on the back. But look out for Chris Warner, who is closing and closing on the back of these two.
And the fastest lap there on the previous lap for Chris Warner as well, a 50.978. But Duffer's Dip, you have to be extremely brave to go side by side. Although he's got a much better run out of Clark. This is the opportunity. Michael Seal looks over the inside line, and you've got to think this is where he'll get the move done. Later on the brakes for Michael Seal, goes down the inside and takes the move, takes the position. Although on the exit, we saw what happened with on the previous lap. Paul Cook may have a chance there down into Duffer's Dip. We saw that Michael Seal backed out of it potentially a little bit going into Duffer's Dip, and it's going to be the same there again. As you see, Paul Cook deciding that discretion, the better part of valor. Michael Seal making a small mistake there going through Duffer's Dip. Doesn't cost him too much time, but the position change has happened, and Michael Seal, looking for his first victory of the season in the British Sim Racers touring cars, has taken the lead and has already pulled away from Paul Cook. I don't know if Paul Cook maybe has a slowdown, but Chris Warner putting him under pressure, and it looks like he's going to make the move stick. Yes, he is. Chris Warner does it. So Paul Cook has gone down from first to third in the space of a couple of corners. He is going to try and fight back against his teammate Chris Warner. Look on the outside. Warner, though, has the inside line, and Warner is going to do exactly the same as Michael Seal did on the previous lap. So Chris Warner up into second, but our new race leader is Michael Seal.
Definitely team-on-team battle. I definitely think Paul Cook may have gotten a slowdown, so he let his teammate by to go and catch up to Michael Seal and take the victory away from Year One. So it's definitely a lot of battling out with Simtech and Year One, as it is a dominance for what is happening right here. Michael Seal has the pace in these weather conditions compared to the rest of the field, as they are moving towards 4 minutes left in this race. So we'll definitely see how it shapes out in the rest of the... how it ends here at Knockhill, if Warner will get the opportunity to overtake for the lead.
And we have just under 4 minutes left. We're looking currently at Joe Winter in 4th place, and he's catching up as well to his 2 Simtech Racing teammates in front. But he's also dragging James Neve along as well in the Team Year 1 car, the number 7. So top 5 are actually pretty close together, separated by just over 4 seconds. And the penultimate sort of the last few laps of the race, we've got 5 laps to go, the timing tower is telling us. But Paul Cook there with the fastest personal best for a sector there. So Paul Cook behind Chris Warner, finding a little bit of pace. But in the second sector, Warner pulls 3 seconds on Michael Seal. The gap now down to 0.6 of a second. So we've seen one battle for the lead in this race, and I think we've got a second one brewing up quite nicely. Although there's only 3 minutes to go. Time flies when you're having fun, as they say. We are already into the final quarter of the race. But it looks like we could see another good battle for the lead. The gap between Warner and Seal now under half a second.
It is getting super close, and it's definitely something that I believe Paul Cook was having trouble with. While being the leader, you have to be on the limit and find where that breaking point is for the next turn. But if you're the car behind, you can absolutely brake as late as you can compared to your rival ahead. So it is definitely... you don't want to be up in front, where Michael Seal is currently, when he was comparing that to previous laps when he was battling out with Paul Cook.
Chris Warner's really caught up on the last lap. Then he goes for a move down the inside. That was a very psychological, I'm coming through, I'm going to show you my nose. Watch what I need to do. As Chris Warner trying to get past Michael Seal there, and the gap is down to about 0.3 of a second. Not much difference, but on the previous lap, Warner was 0.8 quicker than Michael Seal, but time is running out very close indeed, and there has been a change to 3rd place as well, because Joe Winter has found his way past Paul Cook, so that's a change between Simtech Racing drivers as well. As there, Michael Seal makes a mistake going through the chicane. This is the opportunity Warner's been looking for. We haven't seen an overtaking move here tonight. Oh, maybe a little bit of contact there, door to door. Michael Seal keeps the position. Chris Warner is not happy. A bit of headlight flashing there, but that is the first move I think we've seen all night going into Clark. Michael Seal able to hold on, but Chris Warner putting him under intense pressure, and Joe Winter also catching up now. The gap between the top 3, less than a second. We are going to have 2 laps to go at the line. Can Michael Seal hold on? That is the big question, because he is now going to be put under a lot of pressure. Chris Warner right under the rear bumper of that Team Year 1 Hyundai Elantra. He's looking left, he's looking right, but at the moment not able to find a way through.
Back with the Mausers on Tuesday, there was an entire iron wall of 5 stars trying to defend from the rest of the grid. As you can see, the iron wall is here with Year 1 against Simtech Racing, as Chris Warner is trying to find a way past Michael Seal, and that is an opportunity for Knock Knock. Look who's here. Joe Winter just looking for an opportunity past his teammate. I don't think there is any team orders around here for race 2, and it is a delight for Michael Seal that he hasn't got an opportunity for this next, but it's one more lap. He's celebrating too early. One more, Michael Seal, one more! And you have to defend hard.
It's a good job Michael Seal didn't slow down there, because I think he's that'll be one for the blooper reel. He celebrated 1 lap too early there, Michael Seal, and I hope that doesn't come back to haunt him, because that is a fantastic run by Chris Warner through the chicane. Michael Seal defends the inside. Chris Warner will have to go round the outside, but will he be able to execute a cutback? Not able to do at the moment. Michael Seal has the lead coming out of Clark down the railway straight towards Taylor for the final time, and you've got to think There could be a lunging
Blocking.
coming here from Chris Warner. It's now or never. He's not close enough to make the move. He'll try and get the move done, but it's not going to happen. This time you can celebrate, Michael. It's time now. Round 22 goes to Michael Seal, his first win of the season. Brave defensive work there from Michael Seal. Chris Warner in second. Joe Winter takes third place. Paul Cook drops down to fourth with James Neave fifth and Andy McEwen sixth. Our Pro-Am win goes to Martin Shirley in seventh place, and the Am victory goes to Reese Watt in eighth. Ian Manners finishes ninth, and rounding out the top 10 is Lee Holmes with Rob Jackson in 11th, and in 12th place is Luke Jones. Fiona Siddons takes 13th with two cars which have not finished the race, being Chris Dixon and Glenn Humberstone. So 13 drivers classified, but Michael Seal is the tip of the field today in this one.
That was really close at the very end. Michael Seal, he was super happy that I think he thought that just before the race ended that he won. But of course there was one more race left, and I'm sure you heard us that he had one more opportunity to lose it right there, but thankfully he had finished in first place, so it is W for Michael Seal. I believe that's his first win, is that correct?
That's his first win. A Sealer victory there for Michael. His first victory of the season there in the British Sim Racers touring cars with, as I say, Chris Warner in second and Joe Winter running out the podium in third place. Paul Cook fourth and James Neave in the top five for Team Year 1. Andy McEwen in sixth place. Pro-Am victory went to Martin Shirley in seventh with Reese Watt, the Am victor, in eighth place. So once again, it's another win in Am for Reese Watt, and another Pro-Am win as well for Martin Shirley. Martin Shirley now with 15 Pro-Am wins, and Reese Watt with 9 in the Am category. So those drivers are stacking up the victories and trophies quite nicely in those respective classes. But we said the second race of the top 6 reverse was going to be a good race, and that's what it turned out to be. The overtaking was at a premium again, but Chris Warner not for the one to try, and especially going down the inside into Clark. That was a very sort of brave place to go for the overtake from Chris Warner. Wasn't quite able to make it stick, but I could tell it was quite visible that Chris Warner just had a bit more maybe confidence through the chicane to launch the car. That was where he was making the difference, and it was a good defensive drive for Michael Seal to keep him behind. But what we'll see is we have the reverse grid for the second time. The Wheel of Fortune will be coming up as we see our top 3 drivers. It is Michael Seal on the podium, the top step, Chris Warner second, and Joe Winter in third place. Joe Winter there and Chris Warner on the podium again for the second time tonight, but not able to top Michael Seal. As we see the spinning wheel is there ready to go for race 3. Whose lucky day is it going to be today? Is it going to be high? Is it going to be low? I don't know, but the Graham Sesswood Wheel of Fortune has the answer. I think it is going to be a bigger one. Is it going to be full? Oh, jackpot! It is a full. And that puts Fiona Siddons on pole position. So Fiona Siddons for Team Year 1 on pole, finishing 13th. But here is the full rundown of results. It's Michael Seal taking victory for Team Year 1. Chris Warner in second and Joe Winter third, rounding out the podium, with Paul Cook in fourth place. James Neave takes fifth in the top 5, separated by just 1.7. Very close racing there at the front in the British Sim Racers touring cars. Andy McEwen in sixth. Martin Shirley 7th, taking the Pro-Am win, with Reese Watt in 8th Pro-Am winner. Ian Manners in 9th. We saw Lee Holmes have some dramas along the way. He finishes 10th for 88 Tech. And in 11th place, we have Rob Jackson. Luke Jones in 12th place and Fiona Siddons 13th. They were the only finishers. And unfortunately, we lost Chris Dixon and Glenn Humberstone early on. So a full reverse grid brings 13 cars into contention for race number 3. And that's more like it, Tyler, isn't it? We said we want to have a bigger reverse than the 6. And the Wheel of Fortune delivers.
I'm super happy that we get an opportunity to see some more drama and action for the front of the field, and for some of the drivers that have been winning so much to give himself a bit of a headache. I know it's a bit of a sorry feeling for them, but I'm not. I'm here up in the commentary. I want to see some action. I want to lose my voice during this evening.
I think that could be quite likely in this third race. As I say, I think we're going to have a truly epic third race here at Knockhill. The second race provided entertainment, and so as you say, it's going to be the Year 1 and Simtech Racing cars starting from near the back of the field in this one. And we're going to see the likes of the JW Motorsport drivers, shall I say, near the front. Fiona Siddon's on pole position as well. That would be a great boost for Fiona. We're going to see Lee Holmes as well. He's a driver, of course, in the pros who hasn't taken a victory yet this season. He's going to be starting in 4th place. We had a bit of drama in that last race. We saw him go off the track at the chicane, but he'll be fancying his chances potentially starting in 4th place. And then we have Ian Manners. We've seen what he can do in reverse grid races previously and how he can hold off the Simtech Racing drivers. He's going to be in 5th place as well. And sort of the leading driver from the Simtech Racing squad is going to be Rob Jackson in 3rd place to Pro-Am, but the leading pro driver for Simtech Racing is going to be starting right back, sort of in 9th place. That's going to be, in fact, it's going to be 10th place. No, it's going to be 9th place, shall I say? My maths, not my strongest subject. Paul Cook in 9th place is going to be the highest Simtech Racing driver, and they're going to have to go past the Year 1 drivers of Neve and McEwen. Andy McEwen, we saw that he maybe not have had the best start to that second race. He'll be looking to make amends as well in race 3.
You're correct. There's some potential chaos and potential race winners to come over here in race 3. So we'll definitely be looking for what could be happening in the first corner and the corners after that. So I'm going to be very excited that I got what I wished for. I wanted a full grid. Here we go.
Yeah. So what we'll do is we are going to get the scene set for the 3rd race of 4. We've had half an evening already in the British Sim Racers touring cars. So what we're going to do is leave you time to have a comfort break, get a cup of tea, get that biscuit ready, because I think this 3rd race is going to be one of the ones of the night, and it's coming up next. Hello and welcome back to Year 1 TV. You are watching coverage of the British Sim Racers Touring Cars at Knockhill, the 6th meeting of the season out of 10. My name is Dan Blake, alongside me is Tyler Manning. We've had half the evening's action already, and I'm happy to report that the morning fog has disappeared, and it looks a completely different Knockhill that we'll be visiting for the 3rd race tonight.
It's definitely a lot more sunshine than what we had in race 2. So I'm expecting some rainbows and unicorns somewhere in the back of the hills of Scotland, because I know that's where they live, and I know it. I know they live over there. I can't find them here in Canada.
He'll find the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. That's a big question. We had that 13-car reverse grid, and there we go. There will be the figurative pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, as I say, for one of these drivers. And the 13-car reverse was nearly the biggest reverse we could have had. We are now back up to 16 cars for the 3rd race. So one of the drivers who had issues in the previous race has returned. That's great to see that we have the grid of 16 back. And as I say, 13-car reverse grid. It's in fact, it is Craig Shield. So Craig Shield is going to be in the 3rd race tonight, and he'll be looking to make up for the disappointment of missing out earlier in the evening. But as I say before, 13-car reverse grid, Fiona Siddons on pole. She'll be relishing the opportunity. And at a circuit like Knockhill, a circuit that may suit someone sort of in Fiona's position, not usually near the front of the grid, but if Fiona can get her head down and not make too many mistakes, she could be in for a good finish in this one. And we've seen tonight overtaking really tough at Knockhill, and Chris Warner tried all he could to go past Michael Seal in that 2nd race of the evening. Not able to do it. Seal taking a triumphant first victory of the season. You'll have to do it again. If he's going to do it again, though, it has to be from 13th place. And that will be quite some drive from 13th place. But I'm intrigued to see what happens. As I say, the leading drivers in the last race, who the ones near the front of the championship, are right back at the field. But Lee Holmes, of course, don't rule him out. 3rd in the championship, but he's starting 4th on the grid for this one.
That's absolutely a great opportunity for him to get himself a race win over the drivers that are ahead of him that maybe aren't as experienced of winning something as tough as this here at this track, as it is challenging, Knockhill. So having any sort of small mistake will ruin your run through the rest of the track, and the margins for error are so small that it's impossible to find an opportunity in some of these places to overtake. So if they can, any of the drivers that are at the front right now will have an opportunity to get themselves some big points for their own championship.
Exactly, as you say, all about the points. And also Lee Holmes, another driver like Michael Seal in the previous race. Michael Seal took his first victory of the season. Lee Holmes, as I said, sort of before the racing started tonight, 3rd in the championship, but hasn't actually taken a race victory. Out of the now 8 drivers who have taken a win, Lee Holmes not on that list. And the longer that it goes on for Lee Holmes, where he's not taking victories but is consistent, it may only get him so far. He'll be really keen as well to get that sort of first win of the season, you got to think as well. The consistency's been there, but maybe not had sort of the outright luck or pace. And a track like Knockhill, as we're saying, could be the opportunity for him to get that first victory of the season. I think very shortly we will have the grid for round 23 at the British Sim Racing Touring Cars Championship at Knockhill. Our 3rd race of the evening, as we see there, Lee Holmes just finishing off that last little bit of practice ahead of the race. And you see there, that is such a different weather. As I say, it's a microclimate in Knockhill. Foggy 1 minute, delightful the next. I need the suntan lotion at this rate, because that does look quite a nice one there as well. So on the grid, we have Fiona Siddons on pole position, and on the front row, she's been joined by Luke Jones, who is the AM Championship leader. We got Rob Jackson 3rd, Lee Holmes, who is saying 4th, Ian Manners and Reece Watt on row 3, with Martin Shirley, the Pro-Am Championship leader, in 7th, Andy McHugh in 8th, James Neves 9th. Paul Cook rounds out the top 10. Outside of the top 10, we have Joe Winter, Chris Warner, Michael Seal, Dixon Humberston, and Steele for the 23rd, well, the 22nd time this season, shall I say, the lights go on. At the go, we're underway. Fiona Siddons, a bit of wheel spin there, and Luke Jones is already taking the lead. I can see from outside the commentary box window. Yes, he does. So the JW Motorsport driver in the lead. Lee Holmes up into third place. So Lee Holmes has already made one place up here in the British Sim Racers touring cars towards the back of the field. All nice and orderly at the moment. But Luke Jones able to pull out as a year one car with a bit wheel on the grass.
Contact!
Oh, it's some racer got Shirley, the Pro-Am Championship leader, is a victim in that one. Very hard into the wall. Damage to the front right. That car is done for the day. Martin Shirley will not be taking a Pro-Am win in this one, you got to think, because that is severe damage. He will be out of the race, and that is one of the surprises of the evening so far. But at the front, it's Luke Jones in the lead. Lee Holmes, shall I say, not Luke, Lee Holmes, second place, takes the position from Fiona Siddons. But a very dramatic first lap there, Tyler, with our Pro-Am Championship leader in trouble.
That's exactly what I was expecting to happen with this full reverse grid, as drivers are trying to shuffle themselves around, trying to find a way past all the drivers that are not competing to what their class level is. So a lot of the pro drivers are trying to get past all the AM drivers and Pro-Am drivers. So as you can see how much they are trying to overtake quickly across all the rest of the drivers. And of course they're fighting in their own class. Drivers trying to get ahead of them.
Looks like there could be a change to the lead. The gap ever decreasing between Holmes and Jones. I think Holmes was on the outside. Yes, he is. Going through Taylor's. Will he be able to get the run? Not at the moment, although he does have a bit more momentum. They overlap as they complete the second lap. It is Luke Jones in the lead, and that JW Motorsport Audi RS3. Our Ram Championship leader takes the inside. Will Lee Holmes try and get on the brakes? No. Although Jones goes wide there. Will Holmes look to go inside? Yes, he does. But not able to make the move stick there. Although he's got it now. Luke Jones goes wide on the exit of the chicane and takes a position. Lee Holmes up into the lead. And as we said, this was a golden opportunity for Holmes. He was able to make the moves nice and early. He has done so. The next pro is in 6th place, Andy McEwen. This is your chance, Lee Holmes, to take that first victory. And the first victory for 88 Tech this season, of course. We said that the wins so far this season been shared up by SimTech Racing and Team Year 1. This could be the first victory for 88 Tech. Lee Holmes has put himself in a great position, but there are still, of course, just over 12 minutes left to go in this race. Anything can happen. But it is Holmes in the lead with Luke Jones in 2nd place. Ian Manners is in 3rd place and leading Pro-Am. Fiona Siddons in 4th. We will have a different winner, of course, for this race in Pro-Am with the demise of Martin Shirley. And Ian Manners up into 3rd place already in this one. Andy McEwen has got himself into 5th. He's gone past Reese Watts. And I don't think his teammate Fiona Siddons will make life too hard for Andy. Oh, wheel on the gravel for Andy. That was a big moment, Tyler, but he makes the move stick on Fiona. Sticks it down the inside. And that's 4th place for Andy McEwen.
How did he handle that? And also made a move on Fiona Simmons. I think that was more coordination than ever from Fiona to give up that place. But big contact! Big contact with the AM driver of Reese Watts. Reese Watts just clattered with Andy McEwen. That is big drama there in the final corner. And it is just an absolute delight for Joe Winters, and Paul Cook and the rest of the SimTech drivers. And Fiona Simmons is going out very wide as he tries. A lot more contact going on with the two teams here of SimTech in Year 1. So it is not over, the shuffling for the deck to be solved here, but it's still on for the rest of the grid as there's a huge lunge. Ooh.
Wow,
Jinx.
big lunge there from Fiona. It didn't quite work out, but I got sort of one hand behind. It's like, this is getting quite tense at the front of the field. But Reese Watt there with a completely misjudged breakable. Fiona's off on the outside there through the gravel at Taylor's, and I think that will be Fiona. Is she going to try and carry on? There is damage to that front left, and we could see our 2nd Pro-Am demise. In fact, Rob Jackson also. So it looks like the Pro-Am drivers are having a real struggle in this 3rd race. There's only actually, it looks like, 2 of them currently running. That's Ian Manners and Craig Shield. But big drama there of Andy McEwen, as we saw. So we're going to watch Fiona Siddons for a lap. And it is quite a tense lap. There's been a contact there with the Simtek car. That was a bit robust by the 51 of Paul Cook. Then there looked like there was another little bit of a nudge there by Joe Winter in the 11. So and this is the send. This was I think Fiona, a bit of red mist there. She goes for the lunge, not able to get it slowed down in time. That allows Joe Winter to slide back past. And then let's see what happens with there's the 2 Year 1 cars going past Fiona as well there. And
yeah, she touched the grass right there.
Oh, big contact I think as well. Car on the inside. I think the outside camera may shed a bit of light on that, but I think Fiona had the car a little bit loose previously, and then she had a helping hand from the side of one of the. Could have been Andy McEwen, Tyler is saying, but we'll have to have a look and see maybe later what's happened there. But at the front, Lee Holmes is got away from this in a rather good position. It's a 3.4 second lead, and Luke Jones in second place, who leads AM. Ian Manners, our Pro-Am leader, in third, but Chris Warner is on the attack for Simtek Racing. We said we wonder how long it would be for the top drivers to make their way through the field. It has been a very exciting first half of the race because it's sort of gone in a perfect way for Lee Holmes. He managed to get past the Pro-Am and AMs in quite short order in the first couple of laps. He's been able to build a big lead, but Chris Warner has Ian Manners and Luke Jones ahead of him in half the race to try and catch Lee Holmes if possible. I think Chris Warner will get past the Audi and the Veloster pretty quickly, although Samsung Dungeon car putting a lot of pressure on that JW Motorsport Audi RS3, but I think we can see Warner make a move here. Tyler is going for the inside.
Oh, he definitely has the opportunity to do it now. He's comfortably beside Ian Manners for the position of third place. So as you can see, that is just how you do that right. You get the speed off the corner previously, and then you pass them into the final corner as you do. So that is textbook by Warner. As you can see, oh, bit of contact right there, I believe, between the two drivers in the Hyundais. It's hard to tell between the difference of Hyundais because, well, they're both two different manufacturers, but one is a sedan, one is a bit of a hatchback right there.
Yeah, see, the Veloster at the end is on the lower part of the grille, which is where it's a difference. But there's the Simtek Racing car. Oh, door bang in there. This is proper touring car racing in. I see Manners and Joe Winter going head-to-head. The position hasn't changed yet, and they are holding them up quite significantly as Joe Winter goes down the inside of Ian Manners. The Samsung Dungeon Machine, more contact. There it is, even contact. Oh, that sent him round. And that is a traditional incident that we see in real life at Knockhill. And I think that's Paul O'Neill in the British Touring Car race having a very similar incident. But Joe Winter, another one of the drivers at the front of the field to hit problems in this race. I don't think the car is. Is he going to be able to carry on? That doesn't look straight to me.
Damage there.
It does. Yeah, there's damage to the suspension. I don't think. Yeah, Joe Winter going for the pits. This is more drama in the British Sim Racers touring cars. It was contact between Ian Manners and Joe Winter. It's put the Simtek Racing driver into the pit lane. But while we were watching all of this, Luke Jones has been overtaken by Chris Warner. The gap between Warner and Holmes, though, is 6 seconds. But Chris Warner has made the move on Luke Jones and moved himself up a position. As we look at Paul Cook, he'll be the next one to try and get past the AM driver of Luke Jones. Luke Jones, though, he doesn't need to be fighting with these Simtek drivers. He has a massive lead in the AM category. But also in the background, I see a stampede of Year 1 machines. That is Michael Seal, along with, in fact, it's not actually, it's James Neve, but Ian Manners there as well. It is Noah's Ark. It's 2x2 for Year 1 Racing because you've got Michael Seal and we have James Neve in 5th and 6th place. And it will help them out a bit, I think, if Luke Jones can hold Paul Cook up because those Year 1 cars, Tyler, are catching corner by corner.
As much as they are catching closely behind, it is a bit of a lead that you can see in front of the field up ahead with, my goodness, it is a massive gap up in front. Just Lee Holmes distancing distancing himself from the rest of the field of Chris Warner right behind. My goodness, it is huge.
There's a massive gap between Holmes and Warner, although it is reducing ever so slightly. It's down. It was about 6 seconds a lap ago. It's down to 5 seconds, and on this lap, I can see that although Lee Holmes was quicker in the second sector, he was a second down in the as I say in on the previous lap, and there's a good battle going on behind between the Year 1 drivers, Paul Cook, I believe, but the gap now. There we go. It's the Audi involved as well. It's Michael Seal who will be the first of the Year 1 cars to make the attack, going potentially into Duffers. Thinks better of it. But Luke Jones is holding on well for the YAM driver. It's representing the YAM class. I thought Michael Seal was going to put a wheel on the gravel there. Just about avoids what would have been a rather gravelly moment. But Luke Jones representing the YAM class well overall in this race. Just inside the top 5. But he's under a lot of pressure from Michael Seal. Michael Seal with a bit of a headlight flash there. Trying to get into the head of Luke Jones. And not able at the moment to do it. But I think he will have the inside line towards Taylor. So though Luke Jones defending the position from Seal. Michael Seal, though, looking towards the inside. Oh, very close there. Wouldn't have got much there between the rear bumper of Jones and the front bumper of Seal. But the positions stay the same as they are. But Chris Warner has taken another second out of Lee Holmes. The gap now down to 4.2 seconds. We could have another grandstand finish. There's 5 laps to go. And at this rate, I think Chris Warner may just about catch the 88 Tech driver. Lee Holmes needs to put in some of his best laps of the season if he's going to hold on to this.
It is definitely very frustrating for Michael Seal to get past an AM driver as he just tries to find a way, because Knockhill's not Silverstone or Monza track. As you see, whoa! Lots of grass and gravel on the outside for the Michael Seal that is in the Year 1 car as he tries to go around the outside, and Luke Jones will have to yield the position to the Year 1 driver. As you can see, Neve will now have the same headache as Seal had before, and it is just what they are looking at ahead that is what was concerning Seal to get far. My goodness, it is just a crazy race this night. Whoa.
Gap down to 3.5 seconds. Chris Warner, lap by lap, is taking chunks out of Lee Holmes. On the last lap, it was nearly another second. In fact, yeah, it was nearly a second again. Gap down to 3.1. Chris Warner can see this 88 Tech car getting bigger and bigger in his windscreen. And Chris Warner knows that if he carries on at the rate he's going, the last lap, he could actually catch up to Lee Holmes. We're going to cross the line now and see what lap times we are this time. It's a 51.4 for Holmes and a 51 dead for Chris Warner. Not as much as Warner's taken him out previously, but it's still half a second. We have 1 minute and 40 seconds left to go, so we've got about 3 laps to go. It's going to be close, but I think just that lap alone by Lee Holmes, he's only lost half a second. If he can carry on losing just half a second, he may just about take victory, but he's taking risks there, and it's down to 2.5 seconds. We are seeing the gap shrink in front of our eyes, corner by corner, as he breaks down in towards Taylor's for the 16th time. There is going to be just over a minute left when he crosses the line, so it will be 2 to go. Lee Holmes is going to have pressure like he's never felt before, I think, in this season. Depending on what the gap is this time, it's another 4 tenths. I'm not sure if I think he might just have done it. But Lee Holmes cannot afford to make a single mistake. So if he gets a wheel on the gravel, goes wide. Oh, there again, very close. Lee Holmes looks like he's driving pretty much at the limit at the moment. And he knows he needs to push because Chris Warner, as you see, catching him corner by corner.
If he gets him at the final lap, in the final corner, it will be a deserved win for Warner, as it is just coming closely to the end of this race. Will it be an 88 Tech win, or will it be another SimTech Racing win for Chris Warner? It is just becoming more and more of a chance for Lee Holmes, but it's super close. As you can see, Andy McEwen getting past another Year 1 driver, Chris Dixon. It's not been a great race for Andy McEwen, but as you can see, it is becoming more of a race. Oh,
Ooh.
that is definitely not what you want to see.
Big moment there for Andy McEwen taking the curve at Duffer's Dip. I wonder if there's damage to that car because he is dropped right down to 11th place. But I think Lee Holmes, he just about gets through Clark without an issue. Go down the railway straight for the final time. He will be very happy to see the checkered flag. I think if there was another couple of laps in it, we could see a different result. But we are going to see for the 23rd meeting, for the 23rd race, the winner is going to be Lee Holmes. It is the first time you've seen a non-Year 1 or SimTech Racing driver take victory. And the margin of victory, 1.3 seconds. Chris Warner with the fastest lap of 51.001 right at the end of the race. He tried his hardest, was not able to catch him though. It is Paul Cook in 3rd place, Michael Seal 4th. Rounding out the top 5 is James Neve. Luke Jones finishing 6th with the AM victory ahead of Ian Manners, the Pro-Am joiner, in 7th. And he was not far at all ahead of Craig Shield in 8th place. That was a battle for the Pro-Am as well. So Craig Shield actually finished just about 8 tenths behind. So very close there for Pro-Am. Then Humberstone rounds out the top 10. We see Andy McEwen crossed the line in 11th place. Not the result he would have been hoping for. Chris Dixon will finish in 12th place. To see the nice yellow wheels there for Chris Dixon in the Year 1 Veloster. But that was, I think Lee Holmes will be very happy to take victory, but it was one of those sort of situations where I think there was a couple more laps. Chris Warner was looking to snatch victory, and he had some charge. He was 6 seconds back when he took 2nd place and got it down to 1.3 by the end of the race, and it's very well deserved podium place there for Chris Warner. But it's Lee Holmes, 88 Tech, taking his first win this season. We saw Michael Seal break his duck in the 2nd race, and in the 3rd race, it is Lee Holmes taking her first victory of the season.
Absolutely, that was a great drive for Lee Holmes to keep hold against all those other drivers behind him, and to get that good start at the beginning and overtake Fiona Simmons for the race lead, and then Luke Jones for the race lead, who is just some great drivers, those in their class respectively. So it is just that of a great opportunity taken by Lee Holmes. So it is some great racing by him, and Chris Warner and Paul Cook rounding out that podium. It is still a dominant race by SimTech Racing.
Yeah, SimTech Racing coming for 2nd and 3rd place. They have 2 drivers on the podium, and some quite big talking points in that race. We saw a lot of drivers that retiring from the race, of course. So it's Joe Winter who had the contact with Ian Manners on the exit of Taylor's, and as I said on a commentary at the time, that is something that you can see happen at Knockhill sort of in real life. It gets very narrow on that exit, and not much room sort of on the outside, and it looks like the 2 drivers made contact, and it was enough to send Joe Winter into the wall. We also, of course, saw very early on the first lap, Martin Shirley departing the scene up at the chicane, going straight into the barrier, damage to the front right. That was game over for him. Fiona Siddons was another retirement as well down at Taylor's, and a real race of attrition in the Pro-Am. It was actually only 2 drivers who finished that race in Pro-Am, Ian Manners and Craig Shield. Along the way, we did lose the car in Pro-Am. We lost Martin Shirley, Rob Jackson, and Fiona Siddons. So out of the 5 that started, only 2 taking the flag. But once again, Luke Jones proving in the AM class that he took the victory, and actually finishing ahead of the Pro-Am winner as well in that one.
So definitely an exciting race that we had for race 3, but we have the Wheel of Fortune for the final time tonight, and we will see how things will go out with a bang. So, what would you want?
Oh, behave.
Oh,
that was
okay.
close. We almost had another full reverse. It's going to be 9th. That puts Reese Watt on pole position from the AM class. So it is going to be Reese Watt on pole position. As we see the podium, it's Lee Holmes taking victory for the first time this season in what is round 23. Chris Warner in second place, Paul Cook in third, rounding on that podium. So championship leader on the podium for the first time tonight in the British Sim Racers Touring Cars. And there is the full confirmation of the result. It is Lee Holmes for 88 Tech. Congratulations, Lee, on that win. Chris Warner in second place, Paul Cook rounding out the podium in third, just 2 tenths ahead of Michael Seal in fourth. Michael Seal with a good drive from 13th to 4th in that one. James Neve finishing in 5th, and Luke Jones in 6th, taking the AM victory. 7th place and a Pro-Am victory for Ian Manners. So Craig Shield, 2nd in Pro-Am in 8th. Reese Watt was 9th and 2nd in AM. And the top 10 is rounded out by Glenn Humberstone in the AM class, who is 3rd in that one. In the cars that just finished outside the top 10, it's Andy McHugh in 11th and Chris Dixon in 12th. They're actually the only 12 cars that were classified in that race. Unfortunately, retirements and trouble hit 3 of the SimTech racing cars: Joe Winter, Rob Jackson and Martin Shirley. And our pole position sitter Fiona Siddons, also an early retirement from that one as well. So there were the results of round 23, and the reverse grid for round 24, as I say, another intriguing reverse grid draw, because we actually have the first 2 rows of the grid being AM and Pro-Am drivers, of course, with Reese Watt in pole position, Craig Steele in second, then Ian Manners and Luke Jones. And we saw in that previous race that the Pro-Ams and the AMs, they proved a very big challenge for the pro drivers to get past. We did say that overtaking at Knockhill, we said all night, has not been the most easiest to do. And I think especially with those 4 drivers at the front of the grid, we got front runners in that AM class, and obviously Ian Manners in the Pro-Am class is one of the front runners in that. I think second in Pro-Am. I don't think the retirement for Martin Shirley will cost him the lead in that championship. He did have a big lead going into it, but it certainly tightens things up and proves that sort of any time in the season you can have some bad luck or something go wrong.
Absolutely, it's definitely a lot of frustrating heads around in the pro class trying to get through in this 3rd race. That's why I sort of liked it for a full reverse grid, getting some more absolute chaos for this 3rd race. So it's gonna be a little bit less drama, but still have some Pro and M drivers at the front of this reverse grid for the final time. So getting through those final few drivers for any of those pro drivers trying to get the overall win will definitely be a bit more headache, and I'm sure after tonight they'll need somewhere to calm down or watch a movie or somewhere to chill out.
Yeah, definitely probably one of the more frustrating and dramatic evenings they're going to have in the British Sim Racers Touring Cars. Also, another point there from that race was that Paul Cook got his first podium of the night as well. We saw in the first 2 races Paul Cook not having the best of evenings, but onto the podium again in that one. And what that's done as well with the reverse grid not being so high, it means that he finds himself sort of, as we say, in 9th place. But what we'll do is we will shortly head for a break, and we will come back very shortly for the final race of the evening in the British Sim Racers Touring Cars from Knockhill. It'll be round 24, and it'll be coming up after this break. Hello and welcome back to Year 1 TV. We have had 3 races here at Knockhill tonight, and if you had to ask me for 4 words to describe what I think about tonight at Knockhill, they were, I like it. I am Dan Blake in the commentary box. Alongside me is Tyler Manning. We've seen a fantastic 3 races. We are about to have a 4th one here with the reverse grid and 9. We had the 4. Got the 2 Pro-Ams and the 2 Am drivers, but also let's have a look as well and see sort of the story of the night so far. Here's the championship standings. It's Paul Cook with a massive lead over Martin Shirley. That has been, as I say, that is not quite what we wanted to show you, but it does show sort of the impact that DNF has had for Martin Shirley. A gap of 103 at the start of the night. That has dramatically gone down, on further up, shall I say. And it's now 198. So Martin Shirley still obviously leads the Pro-Am Championship, but that is quite a big hit on the overall championship. So we have Lee Holmes in 3rd place, having taken his first victory of the season, and that takes him now to within 100 points of Martin Shirley. James Neve is 4th, Andy McEwen in 5th. Ian Manners is the 2nd Pro-Am, so despite the issues for Martin Shirley, he does still have nearly 250 points on Ian Manners. With Chris Warner in 7th. Luke Jones is the top Am in 8th, 2 points ahead of Joe Winter in 9th. And Craig Shield into the top 10 there as well for 88 Tech. And this is the story of the night. In the Pro class, it's Chris Warner who has 276 points, the top point scorer of the night. With Michael Seal, a victory in race number 2. He is on 262 points. And Paul Cook in 3rd with 243. So Paul Cook, despite not having the best of evenings by his standards, up in the top 3 for the night. In the Pro-Ams, we will see that we'll see what impact has happened with Martin Shirley's DNF. There we go. So it is Ian Manners who is the top scorer in Pro-Am with 212 points. Martin Shirley, 148 points. So losing out there, a big chunk of points to Manners. And in 3rd place is the car of driver Jackson there. So he is there. And in the Ams, it's re-swapped by just 4 points to his teammate, Luke Jones. And then Glenn Humberstone, the 3rd highest Am scorer. Very close between the 2 JWM cars. Just the 4 points. But the final race of the evening is going to be getting started pretty shortly. And as we say, it's a 9-car reverse. Not quite as many as we had in race 3, but still enough, I think, that it will cause a little bit of trouble for those at the back end of that reverse. And we'll go to the track very shortly to have a rundown of that grid in full ahead of round 24 of the championship. So it's Reese-Watt on pole position with Craig Shield alongside him. 2nd row is Ian Manners and Luke Jones. On row 3 is quite a mouth-watering row. It's James Neve and Paul Cook. Row 4 is going to be Chris Warner and Lee Holmes. So it looks like we've lost one of those drivers who was in the top 9. It's Glenn Humberstone and Andy McEwen. And here we go then. So 14-car grid. We have lost a few of the drivers there that we saw earlier on. But for the 24th time this season in the BSR TC, the red lights are on. They are going to go out now. We're underway. And it's an interesting start there. And it looks like Craig Shield not had the best of starts. It's the Audi of Reese-Watt, and also his teammate has gone into 2nd place. That is Luke Jones. So it's the JWM cars 1-2 at the moment. 3rd place is Craig Shield with Ian Manners in 4th place. James Neve rounds out the top 5 as the cars go through the chicane for the first time. Will they all get through on this occasion? We saw Martin Shirley have problems in the previous race. Everyone gets through okay on this occasion, Tyler, but it looks like it's the 2 JWM cars who take